Welcome to Navaratri 2024. It's my pleasure to welcome you on my behalf and on behalf of Sujata Mahadevan. This year we have a special theme, but before we go there, we will quickly look at the usual traditional display. As you see here, we start with Durga Lakshmi Saraswati in the first step. You have the Dashavataram in the second step. In the third step, you have Ramar Darbar and then Hanuman, Ganapati, Meenakshi. We have Rajarajeshwari Darbar and so on. In the next step, you have the Avvayar, Sasta, and then our family deity, Dakshinamurti and Kannappa Nayanar. As you go down, the next step you have the Ashtalakshmi as the main display. Going one step down, you have the Gurus, Avatara Purushas, Shankaracharya and disciples, Buddha, etc. And in the last step, of course, you have the Chettiar and his wife, shops, then the animals, which is a traditional kind of a setup, and that is what it is. Then we will move on to the theme for this year. Start with this year's theme. This is a bird's eye view of this year's theme. We will go near and see the details. As you see here, the theme for this year is the Sants of Maharashtra. Maharashtra has had some great devotees. And let us start with the genesis of this story. The story starts here. We have Indra, who with Vajrayuta tried to kill Vritrasura, and Vritrasura was in a meditative position. He was very upset with this act of Indra. He cursed him to become a stone. So Indra was very worried. He goes to Vishnu and asks, how do I get redeemed? And Vishnu says, I will come to Bhuloka as Panduranga in Pundalika's ashrama and you will be redeemed at that time. So that marks the beginning of this entire story of the sons. So we'll go to Pundalika Varade, his ashram. This is what it is. Pundalika Varada, who lived in the 13th century, was very disrespectful of his parents. He had no reverence to him, and this was going on like that. One day the parents decide to go to Varanasi, and Pundalika also tries to follow and find where they are in Varanasi. But in the meanwhile, he found something very interesting. He found three ladies who are very dirty and all that. He go into the hut, comes back after doing some work, they are glorious. So Pundalika asks, what is going on? What is the secret behind it? Who are you? Then the three ladies said, we are Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. Thousands of people wash their sins in us, and how do we take off our sins? And we just go and do Shrama Parihara here and we get back all our glory. Pundalika asks, how is it possible? So he said, ask the Rishi who is part of that. So Pundalika asked the sage what is the secret behind it. The sage says, nothing, I only have a very reverential attitude with which I attend to my parents, nothing more. So Pundalika understands the mistakes that he has done. He finds his parents, bring them back, attends to them with a lot of reverence very diligently. Panduranga was so impressed by that. One day he comes to see Pundalika, and Pundalika says, my parents are yet to sleep. Wait until I finish my sushrusha for them. Pundalika throws a brick and asks Panduranga to stand on it and wait. That is the redeeming part of the story. That is what it is. Then we move on to the next Sant of Maharashtra, which is Jnaneshwar, who also lived in the 13th century. The story is Jnaneshwar's parents, the father took sannyas from a guru, and when the guru came back to the village, Jnaneshwar's mother was blessed by the guru that you will have a good family life, but the mother started crying, saying, my husband has already taken sannyas, and the guru found he only gave sannyas to that person. He asked him to go back to Grihastha. Because he returned from sannyasa ashrama to Grihastha ashrama, the villagers were finding it unnatural, and they were very uncooperative with them. Anyway, in the meanwhile, they have 4 children, as you see here, Nivritti, Jnaneshwar, Sopana and Muktabhai. But because of this non-cooperation, the family was really suffering. But anyway, the parents went away and these 4 children were taking care of themselves amongst all odds. So much so that Jnaneshwar is asking Muktabai to use his back to roll chapati, and that's the level of poverty with which they were actually living. Anyway, in the meanwhile, we have the Jnaneshwar's greatness slowly gets revealed. He even makes the bull to utter Veda, and people understand he is a great person. Meanwhile, Muktabai goes to a nearby village. There is one person by name Sankdev who does all kinds of siddhis. He even brings dead people back. He tames animals and he boasts of all these. Whereas Muktabai feels that all that is required is only Panduranga Bhakti. Anyway, this Sankdev comes to meet Jnaneshwar and boasts all these siddhis to Jnaneshwar. Jnaneshwar said, your siddhi is only up to the point of doing all these with animate objects, living beings and so on. See my siddhi. And he actually made the wall to fly. So this Sankdev was fully convinced of futility of all these, etc. Anyway, Jnaneshwar lived for 21 years only. He authored Jnaneshwari, a great commentary on Bhagavad Gita in Marathi, which is kept in high reverence today. Then we will move on to the next, which is Namadeva, who is again a contemporary of Kundalika and Jnaneshwara. So what happens is Namadeva's father used to offer prasad every day at the temple. One day he could not go to the temple, so therefore he asked the little boy to go and offer prasad. The little boy placed the prasad thinking the Lord will come and have the prasad. The Lord did not come, so he was deep devotion. He was banging his head on the wall, and Panduranga simply melted. He came down and then partook the prasad offered by the child. From then on, whenever Namadeva calls, Panduranga will come. That is how the story goes. So it was such a friendly kind of a relationship. So at some point, Panduranga felt that Namadeva must get his jnana and nivritti marga. So he asked him to go in search of a guru. So once when he went, he found a person lying like this with his leg on the Sivalinga. So Namadeva was shocked. He said, what are you doing? Then this old man said, I am unable to move my leg. Why don't you move the leg? So wherever he moved this person's leg, another Sivalinga appeared. So Namadeva really understood the value of liberation, Nirguna Upasana, all those he learned from this guru, and he became a great devotee. Namadeva is credited with a number of abhangs which are very popular. Today people actually sing a lot of them. So that is what this is. Then we move on to the next, which is Janabai, again a contemporary. Janabai was a small little girl, orphaned girl. One day she was with deep devotion, of course, to Panduranga. She was near the Panduranga temple crying, and Namadeva found her and then took her home. She said, I cannot do anything because I am not literate, I have not read anything, I can only at best do household work and so on. Namadeva said, okay, please help me with that. So as you see here, all kinds of work she is doing, pounding, grinding, cooking, everything. But she is the benefit of the great satsanga of Namadeva. Her devotion also grows many-fold and so on. It's going on like that. One day what happens is the cow dung cake that she makes, which is used for yajna and so on, is missing. So she started suspecting what is going on. Then she suspected that the neighbor has taken it. So she engages in an argument with the neighbor. The neighbor said, how do you know I have taken? How do you know which is your cow dung? So Janabai says, if I break my cow dung will even say Vittal, Vittal. Then she actually broke a few of them, and sound started coming out of it, Vittal, Vittal. So that is a level of devotion that Janabai actually has. There's another episode. One day it was heavily raining, and what Janabai saw was that the Namadev's house is sort of sinking because of heavy rain. But then somebody has come and trying to protect and save that entire structure. When she closely watched who he is, she found that this person has a peacock feather on his forehead. he has Vaijayanti Mala and Pitambara. So she understood is none other than Krishna himself has come to save Namadeva's house. So that she narrates Namadeva, and that is the kind of bhakti these people have displayed. Then you have another interesting episode which is known to a lot of people. This is the story of Gorakamba. So Gorakamba is again a great devotee of Panduranga, but he is a potterer by profession. So he does his pottery on the wheel. One day his wife asks him to take care of the child. She is gone to fetch water. As he was working on the pottery wheel, suddenly there are dark clouds which are descending. On seeing the dark clouds, Gorakamba was reminded of Krishna. So in great ecstasy, he was actually in deep devotion while attending on to the pottery work. This child, unwittingly because of the sound of the thunder, I think, it came near the father, but only to see that the father was not even aware of it. The child got consumed into the pottery making wheel, clay and all that. When the wife comes back, she sees that child is no more. And Gorakamba also realizes what has happened. Being great devotees, both of them greatly prayed to Panduranga and Ragumai, and they were blessed. That story we will see later as we see. We will keep it at suspense for the moment. Then we have the next Sant. So far the Sants were all in the 13th century, whereas Eknath came in the 16th century. Again a great Sant of Maharashtra. Now this Eknath is a very pious, very equanimous person who goes beyond caste, creed, religion, etc. He is that kind of a person which because of the social order and all that, people were not really very appreciative of his great acts. So he found his living quite challenging. Nevertheless, his bhakti and his equanimity never got compromised. One day he had to do the Shraddha Karya for his father. As you know, the villagers were simply uncooperative, so he doesn't know what to do. As he prayed to the Lord himself came in the form of a small boy and helped with all the chores required for doing the Shraddha Karyam. But then you need 3 Brahmins for for feeding. So Vishnu himself came and sat in the Vishnupada. Brahma came and sat in the Vaivasvata, Vishwadeva. And apparently his father himself came and sat in that Pitrasthana and had his food. This is what the legend is. Such is the bhakti of Eknath. Now, once what happened, in their village there was huge drought, and so people were wondering what to do. So therefore they asked Eknath to go to Varanasi and fetch some Ganges waters and do Abhisheka of the Linga in the temple so that they will be blessed with water. Eknath goes to Varanasi, brings Ganga Jal, but as he approaches his village, he finds a donkey which is almost in a dead position, dying of thirst. So he offered the Ganga Jal to the donkey, and the donkey was survived. The villagers were very upset. He said, how can you do this? But then his true devotion was answered. He got plenty of rain and all that. So these are some of the episodes. All of these Santa Mahajanas, there are plenty of episodes in their life, but we have just taken a small portion just to give you a sense. Now we will move on to the main display, which is nothing but this Panduranga and Ragumai in that Pandaripura temple, which Pundalika was responsible for. You see the Pandarinath temple here, of course, then you see the main Panduranga temple in the, and this is a place of great worship, not only for Maharashtrians, for everybody who are in the Bhakti movement. There are, as you see, steps here. The first step is actually the Namadeva, that's what they are even told today. There's a small little child you see here, the Gorakumba's child. They came on what is called Varkari Yatra, and Gorakumba's child was restored back thanks to the devotion they have for Panduranga and Ragumai. Now there is this living tradition in Maharashtra. What happens is they all start from Alandi, which is just outside the Pune International Airport. Thousands and thousands of people perform what is called Varkari Yatra, which starts from that Alandi, which is the Samadhi of Jnaneshwar, and they do a Padayatra walking about 250 kilometers in about 18 days. And throughout that journey, they do bhajans, they do abhangs. It's all steep, deep in devotion. Every group has a guru and they go together. This is a huge movement which happens even today. The Ashada Ekadasi, hundreds and thousands of people actually congregate in Pandaripura. That's through this Varkari Yatra and so on. So this is a strong living tradition. So what is special about this year's display is the bhakti that we are talking about is not of the Puranic variety. It is bhakti of people who lived in our times, just a few hundred years before and so on. So we hope you have enjoyed this display this year, and we pray to the Lord for your well-being, peace and prosperity. Thank you for watching this video.